Welcome back. In this video, we are going to look at something that is very interesting, and it is one of its kind on the channel, and we are going to look at how to do CRUD in Next.js 13 using MongoDB combined with API routes, models, and all those nice things. So let me show you the demo of what we are going to build. Okay, so we have a nice interface here having all these courses. Okay, and these courses, by the way, they are all coming from the database. To show you that they are coming from the database, I'm going to refresh the page. Okay, and you're seeing I've refreshed the page and they are not going anywhere. Okay, that means they are saved in the database. Okay, so if you want to confirm, we can actually add a new course. So just add a new brand new course, and you see on this URL we can add a brand new course. Let me just add a course, like maybe let's add Tailwind. So just say Tailwind CSS course. Okay, and then here this is a nice course, okay, that will teach you Tailwind. Okay, just click on add course, and you see when we just go down here we have Tailwind CSS course, and let me refresh, and you see it is not going anywhere. Okay, now that is not enough. We can do view on its detailed page. You see Tailwind course, we can see its detailed page. If I go back, I can also edit it. Let's edit it. And here Tailwind CSS course, you see we are fetching the details very nicely. And let's say updated 2023, and you just click on update, and you see we go back down, you see Tailwind CSS course updated 2023. Okay, now finally let's add one for deleting. Okay, and if we just add one course for testing, so just say a testing course. Okay, this is a sample course. Just click add course. So you see it is added here and it is not going anywhere. Okay, so that means it's saved in database. We can go ahead and delete it. If you click delete, they ask you are you sure. If you click cancel, it doesn't delete it. If you go ahead and say yes, it takes it away, and you see it is deleted. Now to confirm all this, let me just go to MongoDB database, and this is our database right now. Let me refresh. Okay, let me refresh and see the data that we have there. Okay, so we have all this data. Okay, we have all this data. You can see Tailwind CSS course updated 2023 is here. Okay, and that is not all. We are even going to see how to use Postman to perform all these CRUD operations. So we are performing CRUD on using Postman, which is a tool for testing the API, and then we implement the backend in our application Next.js 13. And if you just go here, get like this endpoint, get all courses. Right now, if I click this endpoint, is working really well, and you see it is getting me all the results back, including the Tailwind course that we just added here. Okay, so all these we are going to see them in the coming video. Just let's get into it. Welcome back. In today's video, we are going to look at Next.js 13 CRUD operations with MongoDB and API routes. So to those ones who are new to backend, Words like CRUD and MongoDB might be your first time to interact with them. So let me take some few seconds to explain what is CRUD and what is MongoDB. And this video is very important because it is one of the few videos you'll find on the internet explaining a step-by-step CRUD operations in Next.js 13 and MongoDB. So I want you to watch carefully, and you can just simply keep on pausing and even rewinding back to understand each step by step what we did in that very step. So let's start explaining what is CRUD. So CRUD stands for create. So CRUD stands for create. So we have create, then read, update, and then delete. Okay, those are the four major keywords in the CRUD. We have create, we have read, update, and then finally delete. So what does this actually mean? So in an actual typical full stack application, if we look at a typical full stack application, let's say the way you use like Facebook or the way they use Twitter, those are some of examples of a full stack application. So in most times in these big applications or full stack applications, this is where the CRUD operations apply. And most of those applications are full stack or they are backend based applications. So in Next.js has a capability of doing full stack or having capability of actually doing both front end and even backend. And that is one of the things that is making Next.js really to be a modern application in 2023 that you would think of learning. They have put so much into it that it does so much that you don't want to go out of it. So let's just go back to CRUD. So we're going to take an example of, for instance, Twitter. Okay, so here on create, it means that you can create, for instance, a new post. Okay, you can create a new tweet. Let me just create here. So here under create, you can create, for instance, a new tweet. Okay, you can create a new tweet. It can be a new comment. Okay, it can be a new comment, it can be a new post. So wherever we're having those create, and this is just like all social medias or most applications, you can create things. You can create a message, you can create a tweet, you can create a comment, you can create a post. Okay, you have ability to create something. Okay, you can create a new thing, and normally it is represented by a form. Okay, so here this involves taking some data from the user. Okay, so under when we are talking about create, this takes some data from a user. Okay, so a user here types in like in a form. So every time you are typing in a form on a website, you are performing one of the CRUD operations called create. Okay, so the second one is read. So read here can be, for instance, reading this can be reading of new tweets. Okay, you can read your tweets, comments, posts. Okay, so every time you are on a social media and you are reading those tweets that other people tweeted or the ones you tweeted. You are viewing comments, you are viewing posts. That operation in the CRUD is called reading. Okay, and reading involves, you can read all the messages. They can be emails, they can be messages. So that is what we call read. Okay, so reading involves reading the data that has been saved from a database and you are reading it back on your screen. It can be on a social media, it can be even on your phone, reading emails. All that one is reading, and it normally involves two operations. You can read all messages, or you can read all a single message. Okay, you have seen you can just go on your phone, you find you have notification of 5 messages and you can see them outlined on the screen, and then when you tap into a single message, then they give you the details of that message. So you are going to see this one involves 2 operations. And then the second last is update. So normally when you just on those social medias, after you have created a new tweet, you have ability to update. So you can update or edit. Okay, you can update or edit. It can be a tweet. Okay, it can be a comment. You can edit your comment you had written earlier. It can be maybe a message, you know. So you have ability to edit or update, and that operation is called update. And then the last one is delete. And delete, it is very straightforward. This involves something like deleting a post. Okay, it can be you deleting a tweet, you can delete a message. Okay, so these are like the most operations that are done on any full stack application, and when you understand how to do CRUD, you have clearly understood the backend. Okay, you can be able to create APIs, you can be able to create all sorts of complicated backend applications if you understand these functionalities, the CRUD functionalities. Okay, so to show you this in real life, we prepared a single an application, a Next.js application. I also already have a Next.js app here, and I have a few things that I've prepared so far, but don't worry, this is something that is basic. So this is my home page. When you hit localhost 3000, I have this localhost and I have prepared this. Now this is to represent the read. Okay, in the CRUD, this one involves reading. You can see I have a list of courses that I have from my database. Okay, so these are, I have this list of courses, HTML, CSS course, and even this one is HTML, CSS course. This is just some dummy data. So I have this data and I'm viewing it here in a list. And then I have these items here that are some of the actions you can do. For instance, you can delete this course, you can edit this course, or you can actually view this course. Let's start with view. So right now we are viewing a list of courses, and this is very common in every backend or full stack application. When you go like on Twitter or you go on Facebook, you find you have a list of posts or a list of feed. On your feed, you find you have unread messages, and they are in a list like this, and you can view them. And that part of viewing them in the CRUD, that one stands for read, R. Okay, so you can go ahead and view a single message. So here you are viewing them as a list. You can go ahead and click on one of these ones to view it. So if I click here like that, you go into a detailed page. Okay, you go into a detailed page whereby you can look at this, okay, at this single course. As you see here, this is a course detail page, and you can read about that course. Okay, if I'm to go back here, another thing you can create is you can create a new course. So if I create on this one, I can create let me just go on add. There is this add course. So if I click on this button, add course, it takes me on a page where I can create a new course. Okay, I can put maybe the title and the description, and this one I will be able to create. And this is this part of the C, the create. Okay, so you can create a new post. It can be a new course, a new product, a new message, anything. You can create it using this C. And if you go back, you have another something like update. So if this is the course, you can click on update, and you'll be able to be taken back on a form with some details where you can actually update that course. Okay, and then finally you can be able to delete. And all this is right now having dummy data, and we are going to be working on this application. By the end of this video, we should have this app fully functioning with the backend added to it. Okay, so for the starters, I prepared this starter app I have here right now. You can just go to this GitHub. I will just put this link for the GitHub for the starter template, or the starter this HTML you are seeing here. You have this as a template, and you can just go ahead and first get it from GitHub so that you can follow along with me. Just simply come here and just copy this link here and go on your command line, and you say git clone, and you put this link. You'll be able to have this application, and you can work along with me. Okay, so I explained very well what is CRUD, and at least this time you should have some light what CRUD is. So as you can see, when you are doing your CRUD operations, they involve creating of new posts, creating of new things, and then you can see add. That means we must save this data somewhere. So MongoDB is a database, is a NoSQL database that we are going to use to save our data. Okay, we are going to use to save our data, and we are going to see more about it as we move on. And now another thing I can talk about is API routes. So API routes, for these ones we can talk about them, and they are also based on these CRUD functionalities. Okay, and at least if you have been following on this video, then you must be already knowing some of the API routes. Okay, so let me just talk about these API routes in a second. So let's start with, for instance, a description. Okay, I can start with a description. Then we can have the URL. Okay, API URL, and then we can go ahead and have the HTTP verb, okay, and then maybe what we can add is the status code. Okay, status code. So for instance, let's start with the first one, okay, of, for instance, get all courses. Okay, so this one is a description of what this API endpoint will do. For instance, this is the most common thing when you have a full stack application. You want first to list out all, for instance, all courses. So here we would have a big list of all courses. So we would have an API endpoint. By the those ones who don't know, API in full is application programming interface, and its purpose, the API purpose, is to link the front end to the back end. They give you access to the database through an API. So the first thing we always want to do on our full stack application is always getting all the data from the database. Okay, and here we can use this get all courses, for instance, and in this case we would want to get the courses that we can populate on the screen like this one, and we would perform something like getting all the courses. And this one, API URL or the endpoint, would look like something like this. So we would have stock API, and in the API we would have something like courses. Okay, and this one, this link here or this route would be responsible for giving us all the courses. Okay, now in a minute we are going to implement this, don't worry. And then the HTTP verb here is get. Okay, so the HTTP verb there is called get. And for the status, now we have two statuses here we can look at. For instance, is 200 if it is successful, or it can be maybe 500 if there is any errors while it is trying to fetch all the data. Okay, so the second one, let me just duplicate this one. So the second one is getting a single course. So here we are getting all courses. We can go ahead and get a single course. Okay, and here the endpoint for this one would be API courses and stock on a particular ID. So here we are trying to access a single course with a particular ID, and the API endpoint looks like this. Okay, stock API courses and then an ID, and it is also a get, and you also have 200 or 500. Okay, so next is the next one is, let me just duplicate this, 3 4 and then 5. Okay, so the next one is update. In fact, Esther is creating a new post or create a new course. So here we have ability to create a new course. So you can create a course, and here the API endpoint is just like API then courses, and here we can be able to create at this URL, or when we make a request to this endpoint, we would be able to create a new course. And this one is post, the HTTP verb. Now there is someone right now who is not following and is like, what are the HTTP verbs, what are these descriptions? But these ones are the URLs, or these are links that we are going to use to interact with the database to be able to create or read data. Okay, so we have been looking at only one endpoint in most of the times when you're using an API. So far on this YouTube, we have been using get, whereby we fetch data from an API. So another one is creating a new course, and this one is a post. When it is successful, we use a status code of 201. If it fails, we can use 500 as a bad request. So another one is we can go ahead and also update. So we can update a course. Okay, we can update a single course, and this one will be also on the same endpoint, just like this, API courses stroke ID. Okay, because we want to update a particular course. Okay, and when this one is a put request, and if it is successfully done, this one will be 201 created. So this 201 means created, and you can go ahead and read about these status codes. You can just go here and say HTTP status codes, and there is one documentation from the Mozilla, the MDN. You can just go here where they have this the MDN docs here. They go ahead, there are so many HTTP requests, but they go ahead, and I will also link this one in the description so that you actually read about these HTTP response status codes. There are so many, but you can just go ahead and read some of them, and you can see, for instance, the 200 I'm talking about here, the request is succeeded, and it is normally for the gate. And then you have also 201, which is created. So you can just go ahead and read about the HTTP requests, and I will also link this. Okay, so moving on. So we have so far 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The last one is deleting a single. So this one is delete. Okay, delete a course or a single course. Okay, so here you can delete a course, and not necessarily you need to go to the ID, but you can also use this endpoint API courses on a particular ID, and then this one is a delete. Okay, so, and this one is also 200. So you can just go ahead also read at the HTTP verbs and what they do. So let me just go on a new, you can just say HTTP verbs. Okay, so you can read about these HTTP verbs and what they actually do. I will also link, I don't know if the MDN has here a doc, and there is also so many documents that are showing up here. Just go and also read about these HTTP request methods in details here. Okay, you can just read about them, and you are going to be looking at what they do in a practical way. There are so many. So we have the patch, we have the put. So in this video, we are going to use the get, we are going to use post, put, and delete. Okay, you just read about them so that you can understand. So I'm just going to link some of these documentations in the description so that you can first read about them. So let's just first dive into a HTTP requests, these API endpoints, so that you can understand what they normally do. So in Next.js, you can come and quickly create an API, okay, to your application, and you're going to set API links you the front end to the back end. Okay, so when you are doing this, when we start doing these things in Next.js, we are making a full stack application instead of a front end application. In the front end application, we always have only static data on the page. We have no ability to create new data programmatically. We simply only consume the data that is on the UI. So to create an API, so let's see how to create an API endpoint in Next.js 13. So to create an API endpoint in Next.js 13, just come to this app router. So just come to this app directory here, and in this app folder, just create a new folder and name it API. Okay, make sure this name is called API strictly, don't call it anything else. And then after that, inside here we can create another folder, for instance, for courses. So if you want to work on the CRUD for the courses, you can create a folder called courses. If you are working on blogs, you could create a folder and you call it blogs. If you want to work on the CRUD for blogs, if you want to work on the folder on products, maybe it is an e-commerce project, and you want to be able to create, read, update, and delete products, you can come here and create products. Okay, so in this example we are doing, for us, we are looking at courses. Okay, for us, we are looking at courses. So if you just go here, for us, we have for courses, sorry, we have for the courses. So we are looking at the CRUD operations for the courses. Okay, so inside here I have created courses, and inside the courses folder, create a new file and call it route.js. Okay, and specifically name it as route.js. You don't need to give it any other name. According to documentation, the API route should be defined within the route.js. Then inside here, we can create the first endpoint, for instance, for getting all courses. Get all courses here, and we could define this function as export. Okay, export function, and we just simply name it get. And this get, you must name it get, not any other function, just like that. And then inside here you must pass in a request. Okay, and then here you can have your courses. For instance, if I said courses, const courses, let me just say const courses, and these courses we can define them as an array. And this array of courses, a course can have an ID. For instance, this one can have ID of 1. A course can have a title. Okay, and here we can just come and define a title, for instance, HTML CSS course, and then it can have a description. A description, it can be, this is a fundamental course, okay, for web development maybe, and then this can be a complete course. Now, of course, in a real world here, you would add more details, for instance, course duration, course image, and so many other things. But in this example, we are only taking the few details like a title and a description. But for your case, you can add things like images, you can add course price, course duration, and so many other things. Okay, yeah, so you can just do that. Let me duplicate this, and to just have at least 2 courses, just do like that, and just have 2 here, ID 2, and this one let's just call Python course, and this is a backend course. Okay, so we have these 2 courses. So to be able to see them, we have to return them as a response. So for every request, there must be a response. So here we just say return, and we return a next response, and this next response must come from next server. You can see I've imported it on top here, dot JSON. So we turn this response into a JSON, and we can pass in courses, and these ones we have here. So if I go to a browser and I want to access this data or this API endpoint, you can just go to localhost and you pass in API stroke courses. Okay, if I press enter, now it is giving me the data here. You can see I have an array and it has this data. Okay, and if you look at this API here, stroke API courses, you remember what we discussed here. Getting all courses is on an endpoint called stroke API stroke courses. And by the way, whenever I'm using the word endpoint, I just mean a URL that you can access that data. So as we see, we are viewing this endpoint here. The browser can view only the get responses, or it can only view only this endpoint which has get. For these two, the browser can view them, but when you go to these other three like post, put, and delete, a browser cannot handle these requests. So we must use a tool that can help us view all these endpoints for testing them to see if they are working very well. Okay, so now for this endpoint here, like get, there is a tool that we normally use for testing APIs, which is called Postman. Okay, so Postman, you can just go on a new, you can just open a new tab, type in Postman download. You can just simply type in here Postman, Postman, maybe download or something, just like that, and they will take you to this page. So click on that page, and the page is here. So Postman has very many ways to do it. First of all, you can download, you see here, Postman app. You can download for Windows, and I have already downloaded it, and this is how it looks like. Okay, download Postman and we can start working. If you don't want to download, they have an online version. Scroll down here. So they have here Postman for the web. Okay, so they say access the Postman API platform through your web browser. You can first create an account and then you are in. So when you click here, they will take you to the sign up page. Make sure you sign up. Okay, sign up, and then they will be in, and you can see here I have logged in my account. Okay, this is the online version. You can see web.postman. This is for the web, and the purpose of this tool is for testing endpoints or the API routes. This tool can help us do that. So if you have the offline version, the desktop version, it will still work. If you have the online version, it will still work. Okay, just make sure you have this endpoint here, and you can go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to go here and create a new folder on this offline one. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new folder. So you can just create a new folder here, or a new collection. They normally call them collections. And this collection, you can give them a name. For instance, we can just say courses CRUD. Okay, as simple as that. I've named it this one, courses CRUD. And then inside here, we can actually create requests. So when you click on these three dots here, just simply add a new request, and by default they make it get. Now let's put this endpoint that we had tested already in the browser. Go to your app and copy this endpoint. Ctrl C. Go back to the app. Go back to the Postman, which is here. And now here where there is get, first of all, you can rename this one as get all courses. So this is what this endpoint will do. And then I'm going to put the endpoint itself here, just like that. So you see HTTP localhost 3000 stock API courses. Okay, just simply click on send, just like that, and you see we have the same response. Okay, we have the same response here. We have the ID 1, we have the ID 2, and this is the very data that we're having here in the browser. Okay, so Postman is just doing the same thing, giving you performing those requests on your API, and it shows you what you can get back. Okay, so normally you can add other things on your endpoint, like here we have only just like this. Okay, normally we always just have a try catch block. This data here, this request can fail. Normally you want to capture the failed request. Normally here we might just use a try catch block. Okay, so this is JavaScript, by the way. There is nothing like Next.js. This is normal JavaScript where we have a try catch. So in the try, we can try this very thing that we have done. And then here in the error, we can also give return. So we can return, okay, a next response and .json, okay, and there we can just also write here the response. First of all, we can have like a message, okay, and we can just say failed to fetch courses. It failed to fetch courses. And then you can also go ahead and attach an HTTP request. First of all, let's put the error here. So you can also attach the error. And then you can go ahead and put a comma. Let me first put this as first argument, just like that. So here you can put another argument for the status code. So you say status, and you can give this one as 500 as a bad request. If you remember the status codes I was talking about when we are opening. So for when the request has gone through here, we can return also a message. So inside here we can say message, okay, and here we can attach any message, for instance, okay, and then we can also attach the data, and we can attach the data as courses, courses, just like that, just like this. And if now we go back, and by the way, we can also attach the status code. So just say status, and you attach it as an object. So you can just say status, and you can say status 200, which means okay, or which means successful. And if you do that, let's go back to our Postman. Now let's make the same request, send. This time you can see that the data, first of all, we have the status here 200, okay. So you can just go ahead and see here that we have our message, okay, and then we have our data now appended onto this data key. You see, this array is now on the data. That is good, okay. So in actual sense, or in real life, okay, in real life we don't use we don't create the courses like this, okay. We don't have these courses in real life. These courses are coming from a database. You don't just create them within this here, the way you created this array here. You know, in actual sense, this data is coming from a database, and the database we are going to use in this video is going to be MongoDB. So let's look at how you can start with MongoDB and how we can get it into our application. Okay, so just go to, I have this document, okay, there is this blog. I'm just going to link this blog into in the description, so that you can actually read this documentation. I find it to be very nice by Jesse. So you can just read, and then you get some of the concepts that we'll be using in this video. But what I can tell you about MongoDB is a database, and the only thing you need to try it out is creating an account, okay. So you can just go in your browser and type in MongoDB sign up, okay. You can just type in something like that, MongoDB sign up, and they will just take you to this page whereby you can create an account, okay. So if you already have an account, you can log in. If you don't have an account, go ahead and create an account using Google, okay. You can use GitHub or you can use Google, whatever is easy for you. So create an account. For me, I already have it. I'm going to log in, okay. So I can log in like that. So the first step we are going to do, first create an account, okay. First create an account. Meanwhile, as it is logging in, I'm going to take you back to this document. Okay, so down here on this on this document, they're explaining about MongoDB and Mongoose. Okay, so we can just read here down what is MongoDB and what is Mongoose. So they say, first of all, they talk about Mongoose. So we have already seen that MongoDB is a database, okay? And what is Mongoose? So Mongoose is a third-party library for MongoDB that can help you structure and access your data with ease. So Mongoose is a third-party library that we are going to use to be accessing this MongoDB. So they say here, many who learn MongoDB get introduced through very popular library, Mongoose. Mongoose is described as elegant MongoDB object modeling for Node.js, and this is what it is. It is an ODM, object data modeling library. Okay, so you can just go ahead and read more about Mongoose. But what I can say about Mongoose is that we are going to use Mongoose to interact with MongoDB. Okay, so we need Mongoose library in our app. So the first thing here, just go on open a new terminal here, and let's install Mongoose. So just say npm install Mongoose, just like that. So first install Mongoose, because Mongoose is going to help us interact with MongoDB to perform the CRUD operations. Okay, so now after doing that, as it is installing, let's go ahead. So I signed in my project or in my MongoDB account. So it should look something like this. Now, if you don't have anything you have created, it cannot look something like this. So whatever you are having, just go into this corner here. Okay, just go into this corner. If it's your first time, just look for where they are telling you to create a new project. Just look for this button. Now just look onto the corner here. It might be the only button that is allocated here. Okay, now for me, I already have some projects in MongoDB already, but you can just go here inside here, this left corner here, and look for this new project. Okay, so you can just click on the new project. Okay, so I've clicked on the new project. So we first give our project a name. We can just say next. I'm just going to call it next CRUD. Okay, YouTube. Okay, I have this next CRUD YouTube. This is my name I've given it, and let me make it on all caps. Next CRUD YouTube. Just click next. Okay, here they ask you to add members. Don't add any member or anything. They will show you your email here that you are the project owner. Go ahead and click create project. So as it is creating a project, meanwhile our Mongoose this side installed successfully. You can see if you go to your package.json, you must be able to allocate Mongoose. Okay, so if you just go in your project this side, you can see we have Mongoose, which is really nice. Okay, we use Mongoose in a minute. Meanwhile, this side we created for a new project, and now they have this thing here. Don't create any deployment. It normally takes you to this page whereby they ask you to create a deployment. Don't click onto this. Just back on the sidebar here, just create or click on database. Okay, click on database, just like that. We want to create a database, that's why we are in MongoDB. Okay, so there is where they tell you create a database, choose your cloud provider, region, and specs. So click on build database, just like that. Now they take us to choose, and be careful here because you can end up paying if you're not careful. So you see, by default they select for you this one, which is 0.08 per hour if you are going to use this one to pay. Please don't click anywhere, just first select free. There is this last one here which is saying free, so click on the free version. Okay, make sure you have clicked here. So you see there is these other ones, they pay for them. This one is 0.8, this is 0.1. so don't click on any of these ones, click this free version and click create. Okay, so we have chosen, and down here just leave the provider the way it is. Let's solve the reCAPTCHA. Just click these ones just like this, verify. Okay, buy scores again, just verify, and you are good to go, I guess. So we have created our we have created our project. Now here they are created a username, and this username they create it automatically from your email you use it. They will create this username. If you don't like it, you can change it. I'm going to maintain it, and then this password. Okay, now this password they have given you here is very, very important. Okay, you can change the password and you put the one you want. I'm going to go with this one. So what you don't want is people to see this password. Now for my case, this is for testing purposes. You won't log into my account, so it won't be able to help you. But this password, you make sure this one you protect it. You don't want people to see the password for your database. Okay, so simply copy this password, more especially the username, they will pick it for you, but the password, just keep you might not see again this password. So simply copy this password, go to VS Code and create this file .env.local, okay, in the root directory here, not inside the app but in the root. Just right click, create a new file and name it as .env.local, and then inside here, let me remove everything that is here. Okay, I'm just going to first put the password here. You see, I've pasted my password here, and let me go back to my MongoDB. So go back here and now create a user. Just click on this, create a user, as simple like that. Now the second one, they ask you where would you like to connect from. You can just first leave this one, just scroll down, and then they say add entries to your IP access list. So you must add the IP address that will be able to access this database. So onto the IP address, to be able to access it using any machine, don't just say add my current IP address. Don't do this. Simply on the IP address here, simply enter this IP address. Enter 0.0.0.0, then stroke 0. So this one means you are giving access to any computer. You can be using your friend's computer. Any computer will be able to access. If you just say add my current IP address, you will be able to access it from only that machine. Okay, but just simply add this one, and after putting this, click on add entry. So they will add it in the list of the IP addresses that are able to access. Okay, just click on finish and close, and then go to this overview. Okay, so what we are just trying to do here is creating a database so that we can just perform our CRUD, so that we can save our data in MongoDB as our database. Now next, they take you to this database deployments. The most important thing here is this connect. Okay, just click on connect, and when you click on connect, they bring you so many connections. There are so many ways you can access your database using different tools, okay, like Campus, Share, and other ones. The one we want for our case is this MongoDB for VS Code. So click on MongoDB for VS Code. And the most important one is you will need this connection string. So this connection string is the one which is going to help us connect our app in VS Code with MongoDB here. Okay, so this connection string, just copy it like that. Click on that. Now go back to this env.local. Now down here, create a new variable inside here called MongoDB in capital letter. MongoDB URI or URL, whatever you want, is equal, then paste this URL that you have just copied from here. Okay, just copy this. Okay, and then where you are supposed to put the password here. Are you seeing this? So here, put the password. This password here. Let me just cut it. So cut this password. You leave all these, the angle brackets that are put. Normally people do this. They leave these angle brackets. It will not work. Simply remove all this password and then paste this like this. So it should be your account. You see they add here the account, the username, they put your password, then even the name of the cluster. Okay, and then you can do this. So this is the URL, and you should protect this, people not see it. Okay, my cluster will delete it after this video. So you must have this string by now. So get this string, save it as MongoDB URI, just like this. And then here at the end, what is a slash? Now you realize we did not create any database. I can close this. We did not create any database yet. Okay, so here you can put the name of the database here at last. I can just say, for instance, next CRUD. Okay, let me say YT for YouTube, just like this. Okay, next CRUD YT is going to be the name of my database. Just simply put it at the end. Now what they will do, they will check for this database. If it is not there, they will create it. That's the advantage. So you have this URI, and that is a good step. Now continuing, what you are going to do next is now connecting our application to MongoDB using this connection string. So in your app, okay, in your app or outside the app, it doesn't matter, create a new folder. So I'm just going to create a new folder here called libs or libraries. So in the libs folder, I'm just going to create a new file called MongoDB, db.js. So you can just name it MongoDB, just like that. And this file is going to help us connect our application with MongoDB. So to connect, we are going to say export async function. So you can export the default. You say export default async function. Okay, async function. And this async function is the one that is going to help us to create the connection. And let's give it a name, which is MongoDB connect. Okay, you can name it any name you want, whether you want to call it connect to MongoDB. Me, I'm calling it MongoDB connect. And inside here, I'm going to have a try catch. Okay, so here I'm just going to say console.log error. Okay, and then in the try, I'm just going to try to connect to MongoDB, and to do so you need Mongoose. Okay, that is one thing. So import Mongoose. Okay, import Mongoose from Mongoose, just like this. Import Mongoose from Mongoose, and then we can able to use Mongoose now. So you say Mongoose, and on Mongoose we have the connect function. Okay, so just click on connect. So want to connect, and inside here we pass in the connection string that we just have here in our environmental variable. So copy this MongoDB URI, Control C, copy it, and now go to MongoDB here and put this one inside here. To access environmental variable in Next.js, we use process.env, okay, and dot. Now they bring you all these things. Now want to say dot MongoDB URI. Make sure that this one is exactly the one you have there, and this one we have to await it. It is not something which is it takes some time, so just put await here. So we await mongoose.connect, and that's why we make it async. So just we await mongoose.connect, and then we pass in the MongoDB URL, and then down here we can also console.log, and we say connection successful, connection successful, or connected successfully. Connection successful. So this one is to help us connect to MongoDB. So now the next thing we can do is actually creating a model. So what is a model? Now if you go back to this documentation, they talk about what is a model. And so let me just scroll to a model. So what is a model here? So they tell you a model takes your schema and apply it to each document in its collection. So in other words, a model is the one which is responsible for helping us create the CRUD operations. So you see, models are responsible for all document interactions. And by the way, whenever we talk about document, they just mean an item. So is responsible for document interactions like creating, reading, updating, and deleting. Okay, this is the CRUD. So whenever you want to do any CRUD, you must use a model. Okay, so to create a model, you must also know the schema. So what is a schema? So a schema defines the structure of your collection or documents. So if you want to, for instance, create a CRUD for the courses, you must define the structure of a course. Okay, what does the course contain? For instance, you can say it contains a title, which is a string, and it contains maybe a description, which is also a string. Okay, so a schema is just a structure of your document or of your item you want to create, and there are so many ways you can create them, and they have different data types. For instance, you see we create it using this new schema, and you see you can say title is a string, a slug is a string. You can even have array of strings, even array of objects. They are all accepted. So to create a model in our application that is going to help us create the CRUD, the purpose of this function, MongoDB connect, is simply to connect to the database. Performing the CRUD operations on database is a responsibility of a model. Okay, so to create a model, just simply go to this here. You create a new folder called models. Just simply say models, as simple as that. And inside, since we have a course, I'm just going to simply say course, just like that, .js. Okay, so I'm creating a course inside the models. I have course.js. And by the way, so for instance, if you want to create products, one thing, if you want to create products, the model name becomes product. It must be singular, like this. If you want to create a CRUD for courses, okay, if you want to create a CRUD for courses, the name should be course, just like that. Okay, this is how it works. It is advisable that the model name should be singular. Okay, just like this. So to create a model, we need to first create a schema. And to create a schema, we must import that schema from Mongoose. So I'm just going to say import, and we import the following. One, we import the schema. Okay, we import the schema from Mongoose. And it's not only the schema, we want to get the model to be able to create the model. and also we need to access existing models. So import these three things: schema, model, and models from Mongoose, just like that. Then down here, let's first create a schema. So const course schema. So I'm just going to say, right, course schema, okay, is equal to new schema. So we are using the new schema, this one. And in the new schema, we can pass in this scheme or the schema, just like that, in this object. So this schema takes in an object or objects, and inside here we can start telling what does our course schema, or how does the course look like. So for the a course, we need a title, which should be a string, okay. Then we need a description, okay, and these ones you get them, I'm just going to show you in a minute, you get them from the form. If you remember here on localhost, let me just go back to our app in a second. Okay, just go back to the localhost 3000, just here. Now on the localhost 3000, I'm just going to go to add a new course. So these keys, they come from here, this add new course. You see, we have the course title and the course description, these two. These are the ones I'm putting here inside the schema. It should have a title, it should have a description. If you had image, for instance, you could go ahead and put image, and you also say string. You can just say it has maybe tags. You will go and define them, and maybe as an array of string. Like, you can do all these things, okay? But for now, we have only two. We have a title and the description. And now, if you want to have the timestamps, like the date for created at and updated at, simply pass in a second object here. Just put comma, and down here you can just say timestamps. So you can just say get timestamps, and you simply say true. So this one, when it is creating a new course, it will append timestamps, like when it was created and when it was updated. Okay, so this is a schema, and it is done. Now, after you have created a schema, you can be able to use the schema now to create a model. So to create a model, so just say const, and we said you have to name it singular, so, and it should be starting with a capital here. So it should be singular and should start with a capital. Course, which is the model, is equal to, so we could just first say, does it exist? So there are two instances, okay? We can create a new model if this model is not there. So every time we are going to make an operation or a request to the database, it first asks, is this model existing, or it is a new model. So if it is existing, we can just say models dot course, okay? So this means this model is already existing on the models, and we can access it, or it is a new one. Okay, in the database, it is a new one, so we create it and we say model, okay, and we use just that model, and then inside here we pass in two things, okay. First, we pass in the name of the model, which is course, and then two, we pass in the schema, which is course schema. So we pass in the schema, this one we created on top here. So we create the schema, and this schema is going to help us actually down here when we are creating a model. So lastly, export this model. Okay, so you say export default, okay, course, okay, so that we can use it in any place. So just export just like that, export default course, so that we can be able to use it. So with this, we can start now performing our CRUD operations. Okay, so let me go back to our app, courses, API, and then courses. Where is API? API, and let me delete all others. We don't have blogs. let me delete these ones, not avoid confusion. So for now, we only have courses. I was showing you that you can create others. Let's only stick to API courses, and in the courses we have a route just like this. And then remember, we had reached here on getting all courses. Okay, so if we check right now, we don't have any course. Okay, so we can first work on creating a course. So this one is getting all the courses. Right now we don't have any course. What we can do is first creating a course. So to create a course, we can create a route for it. So you just say export, okay, function, and this function is called post. Okay, this function is called post, and it also takes in a request. Okay, and this request we can just now start working on it. I'm just going to say try catch, just like that. Now in the error, I can copy this one, the catch for this one. I'm not going to be writing it again, just copy this we did there. So in the catch, I'm just going to simply return a failed to create. So here you say failed to create a course. Okay, failed to create a course. This is the error if there is something that is wrong. Okay, so in the try this one, first one, we have to first connect the DB. So the steps here is one. First, connect to the database. That is 1. 2, okay, now use the model. Okay, in fact, we could first get the data. Let's first get the data we want to save. So get the data from the request. Okay, just get the data from the request. The request I'm trying to say is the one we are sending. It's the one which is having the data. So get the data from the request here. Connect to the database. Now use the model to create. Okay, use the model to create, as simple as that. So let's just use these steps. The first one is get the data from the request. So to get the data, we know the data we have, we are trying to save is two things: the title and the description. Okay, it is the one that people are sending from the form. Okay, let me first go back. So this data here, this data here, this is when you click on add, you are making a request and you are sending the course title and the course description. So this is what we call it a request data. So here you are sending this data and we want to receive it here, and we find it in a request. So we just say this one is equal to await. Okay, to await, and we can await request dot JSON, as simple as that. We can just await title description. Now await is complaining because this function is not async, so just simply say async here, and then it will take away this error here. So we have the first thing is get the data from the request that you want to save in the database, and we can get it like this. I can use this data to create a course object. For instance, I could just say const new course. Okay, new course is equal to title, okay, comma, description. Okay, I can create an object called new course, and this is the object we want to insert into the database. Second, connect the DB. Remember, we have our function from libs. We have this function here, connect to MongoDB, this one. We are going to use this one to connect to MongoDB. So let me go back to the API route here. So connect the DB, I'm going to say await. Okay, so it was called MongoDB connect. So you see, get it from libs, just click like that, and this one should be able to connect to MongoDB. Now let's use the model to create. So just come here and say await, and our model was called course. Let me also import it, and you can see course, get it from models course. Just click on this to import it, so you make sure you have it on top here, imported, both the model and the connection function. So I have await course, and this comes with a lot of things. Okay, for instance, it can find one. We're going to see these ones in future, but one it has the create function. So create, and then it can take in the object, the new course, this object here, this one. So it takes in the title and the description. If you didn't want to create this new course object, if you never wanted to create that one, you can still pass the data, and you simply say like title. So you could pass in the title just like that, and the description. Okay, so it is up to you. Me, I'm just going to pass in the object, the new course object that I've created. Okay, this one. So this now should be able to do the magic. Okay, now to perform this one, this endpoint, we can use Postman to assimilate what we are talking about. Okay, so when it goes through, it must give us a response back. So what we want is to say return, okay, next response and .json. So what we want it to give back, there are two things. So the first one, okay, the first one is the message. So it can say message, and in the message you can say course created successfully. Okay, course created successfully. And then another one is the data. We can just say give us the data back of the new course created, and here we can just simply put new course. Okay, this data here we can just simply put new course, as simple as that. Then we can also attach the status 2 or 1. So I'm just going to attach status. Okay, status, and here is 201, which means a new item has been created successfully. So this one is created 201. So with this, let's go and test this endpoint using Postman. So I just go back to my Postman, okay, and I can just duplicate this, or I can add a new request. So let me duplicate this one by clicking on to these three dots, click on duplicate. So it duplicates this upper one, and I'm just going to rename this one as create a single course, or create a course, as simple as that. And then here on the URL, okay, we want to put the URL, and we can just first copy this one. It is actually the same URL, remember. So the URL we put here are the URLs we discussed. Let me show you. We discussed here that create a new course, we have API stock courses. So you see it is the same as the one of get. So you say stock API courses, and that is the URL that we do. HTTP localhost 3000 stock API stock courses. And you change this request into a post. Okay. Now, since we are sending data, we must go to the body here. So there are a lot of things, params, authorization, headers. Click on the body, and inside the body we are seeing here there is no any body. By default it is in none, but here we are sending some data. So just go on to click on raw, and then change this text into JSON. We want the data to be in a JSON format, and then in this space they give you down here, you can go ahead and actually write some data here. So create an object, and the object here, let me just first drop this one down, and the object here we expect it to have two things. One is the title. So the title, now here we are actually assimilating a form. So here we have a title, and the title we can just say HTML, CSS, and JS course. Okay, comma, let me put also a description as, let me put a description as this is a fundamental course that we teach at this hub, okay. So this is just an object, or we want to receive this one. We are trying to attach the body to the request, because when we get here, when we are receiving the data here, when you see, let me first drop this one. So if you go back up here, you see we get data from the request. This is the data we are waiting for. We are waiting the data from the title and description from the request JSON. And this is the exact thing that we are doing here. We are trying to send the data here. We are trying to send the data, the title, the description, and then we receive it, get it, and save it to the database. So I'm just going to now create a request, click, and let's wait. So once here they are sending a request and they are doing their thing, okay? They are doing their thing. This is sending the data, checking your MongoDB, and doing all those things. If all goes well, it will show us the things, and you can see the message is here. This is good. Message course created successfully, and they give us even the data of the message that has been created. You can see here we have 201. Okay, let's create another one before we even check. Okay, let's create another one. I'm just going to create another course. Okay, just remove this one. Let's say Next.js course. Okay, and I'm just going to say this is an advanced course that we teach at Java at this hub. So let's click again. Okay, and course created, Next.js course. This is an advanced course. So let's go and check in our MongoDB database to see if we have this data. Okay, just go to your browser, go to MongoDB, and what you just do is go to database here. Okay, and on the database it has the name of the cluster, has the connect, view monitoring, and view collection. So here, click here on browse collection. Click on browse collection, and they will show you. You see, next CRUD YT is the name of the database that we created from the environment here. If you remember this next CRUD YT, if you check, it is the here. Okay, so then inside there we created the courses using the model. So when you have a model which is a course, it will create a table called courses. Okay, so if you click on courses, you can see they say we have 2 results. Okay, so let's just go to see the results, and here they are. We have HTML, CSS, and JS course. This is a fundamental course that we teach, and you see they created for us the ID automatically. You don't have to create it. And then they have put created at and even updated at. If you go, we have the second one, Next.js course. This is advanced course that we teach at this is hub. Okay, so we have now 2 documents that has been created in our database. You can go ahead and add one more. So just go and add. We can just leave those 2. So the next thing we want to do now is fetching them using the get. Okay, remember we had here get all courses. We had to first create the course so that we have some courses to work with. Now we have them in the database. Let's work with them. So instead of putting these manually here, the courses, let's get these courses from the database. Okay, so to get them from database, the first thing, as we said, 1, here you can connect to the DB. Okay, then 2, use. So you fetch or get the data using the model that we created. Okay, So use the model to get the data back. So first, I'm just going to await. So await, okay, await MongoDB. So we have this function which connects MongoDB connect. And let's make this one an async function. So export async function, get, and the first thing is await MongoDB connect. Okay, 2, let's get the data from there by saying const courses. So I save them into the courses, and we say await, okay, course. So we have the course, which is our model, dot find. So it has this function called find, just like this, as simple as that. Just courses dot find. After getting all these courses, we can now create a return Next.js response here, and then data courses. So we want to fetch all these courses and want to give them back as a Next.js response, just like this. So with only that, I think there are only 2 lines. You don't need anything from the request. Simply you have to await this connection. After connecting, then we get the courses. So let's just go back to our Postman. Let's go back to get all courses. Okay, make sure the body is in none. There is no anything we are touching. Make sure the API is HTTP localhost API courses. Let's try now make this response. Okay, so just click here. Let's wait and see. Okay, so we have message okay. We have our data back, and if you look at the ID we have here, you look at the ID very well. I want to show you the ID in the database. So here it ends with F54. Let's just go to the database. The first one is F54, you see. So it is getting data from MongoDB. Okay, so we have the 2 documents now. This is great. Let's go ahead now, create a 3rd one. By the way, you can save these requests. Click save so that we can access them in the future. Even this one, click save so that they are saved. Now I'm going to duplicate and I get a single course. Okay, so I'm just going to duplicate this one, duplicate, just like that. I'm just going to create this one and name it get a single course, get a single course. Okay, so getting a single course is still a get. Now here it is at a specific let me go back to get. So want to get like for a single post, a single course, like for this ID. Let me copy this ID, go back to get a single course. Now we have here localhost 3000 API courses, and we want to get for a particular course like this. Now to be able to do that, we have to create an API endpoint for it. Okay, and if you remember in our CRUD, I have done already this get a single course. You see it is API courses stroke an ID. Okay, so you just do the same thing. So I'm just going to go to our API here inside the courses. To put a dynamic key, just create a new folder and put brackets, square brackets, put ID, just like that. And I have inside now my API, I have this brackets ID. Then inside it, create route. So create route dot JS, just like that. And the get, I'm just going to copy this one, as simple as that. Copy this get function, come and paste it inside here. Okay, let's change few things. So the first one, we have to import MongoDB. Okay, just get this one. Let me just, okay, at libs. Then get the course also. Import the course from models. So make sure on top here you have your connection imported, and then your model also imported from the models. Okay, next. So we have the request. Okay, But then if you look at the in the Postman, okay, we have this courses stroke an ID. So to be able to get this ID on the page or on the get here, we have to pass in another parameter. So I'm just going to put comma, I put params, okay, I put params. Now on these params, we can get an ID from these params. So to get an ID, you can again destructure the params to get the ID. So put colons and destructure the ID, just like this. So I have this ID, so I'm going to make my request using this ID. First thing, connect to the database. Second, get a course. So instead of courses, so get data using the model. So const course is equal await course.find. So here, just say find. Now here it has other functions like find one. Okay, find one whose ID. So if you check in the database, we have the ID here as underscore ID. If you look at it very well, it is underscore ID. They don't save it as just ID, they save it as an underscore. So just say find, and here let's pass in an object, and we say where ID is equal to ID. So what I don't say is that check if the ID is in the database is equal to this ID we are getting here. Okay, this one. So we are just doing this. Find a course whose ID in the database is equal to this ID we have passed in. So after getting this course, in the next response, here we have the message okay, and the data is course. So here we get this course data, and let's go and make this request. Okay, so go back to the Postman, and if the speed is fast, please pause and understand. Okay, so in the Postman we have this get a single course. Now let me click send. Okay, so it's going to try to find this course here. Okay, and we have an error this time. Let's try to read this error. So when you go normally down here, there is show you some problem that you have seen. Let's see. So we have error here. Reference next response is not defined. Okay, so just also export response. Make sure here we have only two things. We are supposed also to import next response. So just click this, get the next response from. At least you are seeing these errors at least, so that you can also relate them. So if you don't have this one, make sure you have the connection MongoDB function, the model, and the next response. Okay, let's try again now. Now that we have our response, I'm just going to click, and when you have an error here, just go to the console. Okay, go to the console is where you are going to find the error, this here. Okay, let me just go back to the Postman here, and let's click again, and successfully we have a single course. You can see it has the ID. Okay, it has the title, it has this one. Let's change, we put another one as to confirm this one, the 54. This is just get to the one of 56, get a single course, pass in this one. Okay, this is F56. Okay, click send, and you see Next.js course. So our route for getting a single one is also working. Okay, so we have 3 routes now working properly. If you go back here, we have get all courses, get a single course, and create a new course. All of them, they are working correctly. Now we have the 2 remaining, the update course. Okay, so you can see the update course is also inside the API course stroke ID. Okay, so just work on that. It is also in the same here in this API courses ID then route. Okay, I can simply just do it down here. Okay, and this is the update. Now the update has the same like the create, so I can just come here and I copy this. So instead, let me just copy this, reduce on the time, just minimize this, and I'm going to paste it here. Okay, let's just go through. So first of all is update a course. Now to update a course, the HTTP is put, so put here put. Okay, and it also gets a request, and then it should also get the params. Okay, so we just also get the params, and from the params we can get the ID, just like that. So we have the params. From the params we get the ID. If you have finding issues with the structuring, please first watch some previous about the structuring, then you can understand what I'm doing here. I'm simply destructuring ID from the params. So the first thing we have to get the data from the request. That is the first thing. Okay, now to differentiate the new data that is coming in, let's get it as a new title. Okay, so we can say new title. So we can get it as a new title, but we can go ahead and rename it as title. Even for the description, let's say new, it comes in as a new description, but then we rename it as description. Now you might be wondering, why are we doing this? Now when we are creating in our forms, you are going to see that you want to differentiate this one to come as a new title, to know that here we are modifying the existing. This put here is for updating or editing. So if you are to edit, you are already editing an existing course. Okay, you already an existing course and you are trying to give it a new title and a new description. That's why I'm using a new title and new description, to show you that this is an update. We are trying to update. And now I'm renaming it to title and description because in our database we don't have this new title and new description. Okay, that's why I'm replacing them as here. You can rename like this. If you put this and rename it like this, it will get this and save it as this, and this save it as description. Okay, so we also get this from the response, from the request.json. After that, you can create a new course object, and we are using this title and a description. Now this title and description is after renaming them here. You see here. So I use the title and the description, then get a new course object, and now we can connect to MongoDB. That is correct. Connect to the MongoDB using this function await MongoDB connect. Now use the model to update. So here we are going to use the model to update the course. So to update, it is await course dot. We are not creating, we are trying to update. So here there is another function dot find. So in the find operations, there is one which says find and update. Okay, find and update, just like this. Find by ID and update. So this is the function we're using from the model, find by ID and update. And now here you pass in two things. Okay, you pass in the ID of the item or of the document you want to update. In this case, we are passing in the ID of the course that we want to update, and I'm passing it like that. And then you can also pass in the data you want to save, which is the new course. Okay, so I pass in the two things, the ID and the new course. Okay, the ID we have it from the params. The new course, we have already created the object here of the new course, and it is what I'm passing in here. Okay, now on the response, want to say course updated successfully. So say updated successfully, and then we can also return the updated course here. Okay, and that's it. And it's also 201 created. Let's go and test this endpoint. Okay, so I'm just going to head to Postman, and let's create the put request. So come and duplicate this one. So just click on the three dots, duplicate. So it duplicates it. Let's rename it, and I'm just going to name it update single course, update a single or update a course, and then this must go to a specific ID. So just get an ID of one of these ones. Let me just go here. So just get this one of 54 and say HTML, CSS, and JavaScript course. Okay, so I want to name it HTML, CSS, and JavaScript course updated. So copy the ID of this one, go back to the update. First of all, change the request to the put. So when you're updating, we use the put, just like that. And it goes to the endpoint HTTP localhost 3000 API courses stroke a particular course we want to update. Okay, so to be able to do that, so I have the put request here. It is going to update this one. So go to the body. Okay, now the body here, we are having it coming as new title. So just say new name, rename this one to title, capital T. Now let's just rename it as HTML, CSS, HTML, CSS, and JS updated, so that we can know that this is the one we updated. And even the description, let's add updated, so that we can not just know with what we did. And we are giving it as new title, as new description. So even add this one, new description. If you remember, we said they are coming from, if we go back here, you see we are getting the data as new title and new description. Then we are renaming it title and description. Okay, and we are getting it from the request. Okay, so just go back to Postman, and now let's send the request. So it should now go and find this course and update its details to these ones. Click send. Let's wait. Okay, course updated successfully, and you can see the title has been HTML, CSS, and JS updated. Description has also added updated. Now to confirm, we can go and check the details of this ID. So copy the ID, go to get a single course, paste the ID like that. Let's click send. Once the details here, if they have updated, and look at it, title has been HTML, CSS updated, and even this one has updated. And if you go even the database, you can go and check in MongoDB yourself. So before refreshing, let's see. So before refreshing, you see how it is HTML, CSS, JS course, just like this. Let's update, or let's refresh. So you can just go here and say refresh. Okay, so let's see after refreshing if it actually updates it. We are waiting. It can take some data, some time, and it is back loading documents. Okay, so look at this one, the ID F54, HTML, CSS, JS updated, and even this one updated. So this endpoint is working very well. So let's go to the last endpoint, which is the delete a single course, and it is inside API courses. Okay, it is you should know where to put these requests. That's why I wrote them here. You see where their endpoints are located. You see in the ID we have 2 of them, and then in API courses we have 3 of them, including the delete. Okay, so going back, I'm just going to go back to API courses route. Okay, so that I can be able to add another one, delete a course. Okay, so delete a course. So to be able to see the course we are going to delete, let's create one sample that we can delete. In the Postman, go to create a course here. Let's create a course, a sample course for deleting. Title, I'm just going to call it testing course, and I can just say this is a testing course, just like this. Click send so that we create it. Okay, so course created, testing course. You can go and check in MongoDB if it has been created. Okay, you can refresh here, just scroll up. You can go and refresh, or you could see that one also in so you can see now there are 3, and the down one, the last one, is testing course. Okay, so want to delete that one. So to delete, we have the same function like others. We have export, okay, async function, okay, and in this function, of course, we have the request, and then down here we have a try catch. Okay, let me copy the catch from here. Let me get this return from here. So this one must be delete, just like that. So in the try, let's try, let me first put this here, and this one is going to be failed to delete a course. And in this, the try, first thing is of course connecting. So the first thing is we have to get the ID. So get the ID of the course we want to delete. Okay, connect to MongoDB. So here, connect to DB. Then we can say use the model to delete, and then lastly return the response. Okay, return the response back. These are always the 4 things we are always doing. Okay, we're always doing these 4 things. Okay, so the first one is finding the ID. Now we are not passing this one as if you see in the route we have been using params, because if you see how we are making a request is on slash. If I go to update a single course, you can see it is slash ID. So let's first get the ID of the one we want to delete. Let me go and get all courses, fetch, and want to get 3 of them. So let me scroll down and get the ID of this testing one, get the ID of this one. So what the delete, how the delete will look like, let me just go down here. I will duplicate this. Okay, so first of all, rename this delete a course. Okay, change this from to delete, and now here what we are going to do is we put question mark. Okay, then we say ID is equal, then we paste the ID. Okay, we don't put it as a slash, so we put it as a param. Okay, we put it as a what? We put it as a param. You can see automatically it has put as a param ID and has put this one. Now to get the ID from as a param like this, it is a different technique. Okay, so to get that from here, we are going to say const ID is equal to request, okay, dot next. So there is next URL. Okay, then from the next you can say dot search, I think is dot search params. Okay, dot get, and then here we get the ID. Okay, so here we need this ID here. So before doing anything, we can console.log this ID to know it is working. Okay, let me just do console.log id to know that we are getting this id. For the response, not to get the error, let's give some response. Return next response dot JSON. Okay, let me just say message. Okay, message, and the message, let me make it course pending, so that we don't say deleted. Right now I say pending. Okay, and then here you can just say, yeah, just only that. I can put only the message and the status. Let's also put the status. So I can go ahead and I put status, and the status code is going to be 200, meaning okay, just like that. So the purpose of this now, want to see if we are able to get this ID before we connect to and do other things. So let me go to Postman, click here on this delete a course. By the way, save this. So let's just go and send this API courses. We are attaching this, and let's see. Okay, so it's saying course pending, meaning it actually went there. Let's check on the console to see if we have the ID. Next to that is not the one. Want to see if you have the ID. Okay, so we have the ID. So you can see here, I have the ID here consoled very well, meaning I'm getting the ID. Okay, so this is how you can get the ID param. Okay, it took me a long time to understand this. There is no way in the documentation of Next.js 13 they are clearly giving you this one. So get it from here. Okay, this is how you can get the ID from the request using request.nexturl.search then .get, and then you get the ID. Okay, after getting the ID, this is good. Now connect to MongoDB. Await. So I'm just going to await MongoDB connect. Okay, just connect to MongoDB, and then finally use the model to delete. So after me connecting, use the model. So I'm just going to say await, and then I use the course model. So it is the course dot. Now here we have the find. We have find and delete. Okay, so we have find by ID and delete, just like that. And let's pass in the ID, as simple as that. So we pass in the ID, and then we can now say course deleted successfully. Course deleted successfully. As simple as that. Course deleted successfully. There is not any data supposed to append, only just the message. So just go ahead and do that. Now this time we want to really delete it. So go here and let me again make the request. Click there. They will connect to the MongoDB, and you can see course deleted successfully. Let's go back and check in all courses here. Remember, if I click now, you see we have the testing course before refreshing or sending the request. You see right now there are 3. So I want to send now the request to see if there are how many from the database. Now if we check, we have 1, 2, and it is gone. Okay, it is gone. If we check also in the database, let's check in MongoDB. Now we have it here testing. I haven't refreshed, so I want to refresh so that you see how it goes. So scroll up, refresh. So now I'm refreshing, and let's see how many we have. Okay, I have here 1, 2. There are only 2, and that means all our endpoints are successfully working. So we have been able to make all the 5 endpoints working in our application. So next, what we are going to do is actually bringing it. We have been using Postman, and the purpose of Postman is able to test all your endpoints. before you start putting your actual before putting your actual what your actual data, your actual application, first use Postman to test out all your endpoints, confirm that they are properly functioning. Now you can go ahead and now connect your backend to your front end. So the other part you are working on, the API part, that is what we call the backend. Now we're trying to connect our backend to our front end. Okay? So the first operation we want to do is fetching all these ones here. Okay? So let's just see how we can fetch all. Now we start again from where get all courses. Okay? Now we are doing it in the front way of doing things. Okay? So just go to our app and see how it is looking like. So on the page, this is in the app page, I have this component called the course list. You see this? So I have here this component called the course list. And if I go to course list, okay, I have the course list here. They are just all here in the courses. So depending on what you want to do, we can fetch from this side. Okay, we can now do a function that can help us fetch the data and bring it here. Okay, so let's just do that. So instead of having very many courses, let me just delete one so that I remain with one, and then I can map through it. Just have this here. Okay, just have this the courses here. Now we can just go ahead and refresh this. You will see it will remain only one. Let me refresh. It will remain only one. Okay, it will remain only one, just like this. Now the one thing I had not explained is the, let me just take like 1 second to explain what is MVC. You might meet it somewhere. MVC. So this word MVC, let me just enlarge it here. MVC. So the M here in this case represents the models. Okay, models or model. Okay, then the V. Okay, the V means a controller, a view. So this one is view. And then the last one, this one, is a controller. So the most applications, backend applications, use this architecture. So this is a software architecture for building full stack application, whereby we divide our logic into 3 parts here. We divide our logic into the 3 parts. The M is for the model, view is for views, and C is for the controllers. Okay, now let's explain. The models, we have been working with the models, and that is the code logic, or that is the logic that is responsible for interacting with the database. So the purpose of the model is to interact with the database, and it does only that one. Then we have the views, and the purpose of the view is only to present the data. You can see here, this is the HTML, and its purpose is to only show you the view, or show you the data here, to present the data to the user. Okay, so if I want to present the data to the user, we use a view. Now a controller is the one which makes a request to the model for a particular data from the database. Let's say we want to get all courses. We write a function that is going to ask the model to make that request. Okay, so these controllers are the ones we are going to write. Okay, are the ones we are going to write particular to help us actually get all the data. Okay, so you can just go ahead and put these controllers anywhere you want. You can simply put them here. Okay, you can just go ahead and put them within this. Okay, you can create them within here, or you can go ahead and create them within one place. Okay, so for instance, we can go ahead and put them in the libs. Okay, we can go and put them in the libs, or we can even just write like controllers. Okay, in that sense, we can write like controllers, or you can just come and put them in the libs. But simple controllers are functions that we use to actually command the database for particular things. So you can just come here and write create a new folder, and I can call it controllers. Okay, the controllers, and inside the controllers we can create, for instance, get courses. Okay, get courses.js. Okay, and when we reach here, we can export. Okay, export default. You can export it is always one, so you can just export the default async. Okay, function get, let's say call it get courses. Okay, get courses, and this function we can also to do a try catch. Okay, and then here we're just going to say console.log error. Okay, then in the try we just make a simple response. Const response is equal to wait. Okay, and what are we waiting? We are waiting to fetch. So we fetch the data, and we already have our data in the API here. So we just say fetch, and we go to the API. So API, and we say courses. Okay, and after getting that response, we can say const courses, okay, is equal to await. Okay, we await response dot JSON. Okay, we await response dot JSON. Now this is going to give us the courses, the other object which is having the data. So if you just have these courses here, now we can just say return. Okay, want to return courses dot data. So remember, want to return the courses dot data, because on the courses it is an object. If you remember in the Postman, this is how the data looks like. Okay, it has the message and it has the data. So we are interested in the data, not the message. Here we are interested in the data, not the message. So we can just do that, return courses dot data, and then now this function get courses, we can call it wherever we want the courses are, because it is a controller and it is the one which is responsible for getting the data. So just go back to our component courses list here on top. Now I'm just going to say const okay, courses is equal to await, and we say get courses. Okay, we call the controller. Okay, and it gets for us the courses, as simple as that. It gets, and you have to make this one async. So pass here async function to be able to use await. So this one will get us the courses. Okay, and then afterwards we can go and map through them. So just go and say cut here and say courses dot map, and we get a course here. So we have access to a single course, and then from this course, let's return. We return this. Okay, and let's now we have this course here. Let's first of all put the key here. So say key is equal to course dot id. Okay, and then we can go ahead and replace this one h2 with course dot title. Okay, course.title, and then for the description, what's the problem here? Unexpected what? I think this is fine. Let me just put this one here, and it is course.description, 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 just like this, course.title, course.description, and that's what we want. Okay, so we can just also go and put this link here. Remember, this is the edit link. Okay, so we can create the edit link. Okay, so here we can put it is going to edit course and then at a particular ID, so we can just put that. Let me change this one into this. It is going to, let me first put it back, just cut it, just turn this into this template literals or backticks, put them here, and then let's put this link properly. So this link, it is the link which takes to the edit page. If I'm show you, then here we can put the ID, which is course.id. If you just remember this, this link, it is the one on the edit. If I try to go here, it's saying reading map, cannot read undefined map. Here we are having our map not being there. First of all, let me just go back here and put this question mark. So this seems to have any problem. We can just go back here and let's just console.log here. Courses, console.log. Let me just console.log, console.log, and let me console courses. Okay, let me just console courses. It is not bringing the error right now. Let me refresh. Okay, go to this down here. Okay, let's just check what is on here. It is compiling, connection successful, blah blah. Let's go down here. We try to read input code, blah blah. Let me see. Invite URL. Okay, so let's check our URL we are making to here in this controller. So let me just go to the controller. Where is controllers? Get courses. So fetch. Okay, we are fetching, and by the way, here on this fetch here, okay, just pass another parameter. So I'm just going to pass another parameter saying cache. It should say cache. Okay, and then just say no store. Okay, so what Next.js does, whenever it makes a request, it caches that data. But if we put no cache or no store, what it means that every time it will be fetching from the database. Okay, just simply passing this one. That one wasn't the problem. Let's just see here. We have stroke API, stroke courses. It seems to be okay, but that fetch is the one which has the problem, and we have an undefined. Okay, invalid URL, and there's here an undefined. Let's see. response await fetch. Let me just go and copy this endpoint. So just put like stroke API stroke courses. So we have this endpoint and it is working properly, I guess. Okay, you see the data, we have it. So I want to copy this endpoint. Okay, now if we shouldn't just have any problem putting it, maybe do we need to put this inside the app directory? I don't think so, but let's see. Stroke APIs. Okay, let's just try to put here these controllers. Let me drop them inside the app. Okay, just like that. They are now inside the app. Okay, the controllers, and they just update in our components course list. Let me just update this. Await courses. We need to update this. We can first remove this one. It I think has already updated at app, then controllers. I think it has already updated. That is good. So let's just again review this function, because this function isn't has a problem. Await fetch, supposed to fetch to this. If I paste this one here, and let me remove this first, all of it, just like that, we have API courses. Let's just try again. Okay, let me just go and refresh the home page. Okay, and I guess we still have the same problem. Let me try to read this input. They're trying to say input API courses. Okay, invalid URL. Okay, let's just see what problem am I doing. Const response is await fetch. What am I supposed to put here? Let me just put the whole complete. See if that one changes anything. So we get the response, and after getting the response back, we say courses is equal await response.json, which looks okay. Then from this one we have the courses.data. This looks really to be okay. Okay, it looks like to be okay. Let's just do again, refresh. Okay, so now they actually appear from the database. So the URL was the one which has a problem. Okay, so after putting the whole URL like this, it is working. So okay, that is cool. I have no problem with that. And we have our data from the database. Okay, we have our data from database, and this is really cool. Okay, so that one is done. Let's work on adding, actually just work on viewing a single course. Okay, so I'm just going to go to viewing a single course is inside app. Okay, courses, and then ID. Okay, then page. This is courses ID page. This is where we have the detailed page. You can see here it says clearly detailed page. Okay, so just write a controller for this. So we can just go here and say get. So I'm just going to say get single course. Okay, So here I'm just going to say get single course dot JS, just like this, and it's just the same thing like this one. Okay, just copy that and paste it here. The only difference is that here we are getting get a course or get single course. Let me rename this get single course. Okay, now we need the ID for this course. We pass in the ID for this course we want to fetch. So export default async function get single course, and we pass in the ID of the course we want to fetch, and then we do a try catch. So first is get a response, and then we fetch. If you remember how the API endpoint was written, let's go back to the Postman. Getting a single course, if I go to here course CRUD, getting a single course, you see it was localhost. So let me just copy this actually. Okay, just copy that. That URL is the one which gives us. So here, the endpoint here is getting a single. So HTTP localhost API courses, and then stroke an ID. This one we have here. So to put it dynamically here, I'm going to convert this into a backticks, which they are found on below the escape button. So press the backticks and then remove these double quotes, we don't need them. And then here this ID, let's put it dynamically by saying $ID. So we have the ID from here, so we get it from there, then we put it here, then we can make the request. So other things remain the same. We get back a course, okay, and then here it is also course.data. So we just get back a course, await response with JSON, and then we return the course. Okay, now this .data we are putting is actually this. If you go on a single course, you see it also comes message and data, and then the data is where we have that stuff. So this one is an object, it returns back an object. Okay, so after writing the control like this, let's get this function get. So let's go to our page. The detailed page is under courses. Then this page here, this is why we have a detailed page. First, let's get the ID from params. So we can just say here params. We access the params. Since this is a server-side component, we can get the parameter that has been passed in the browser using the params, and on the params we can destructure the ID. Okay, just like that. So we come here and we say const course. Okay, a course is equal to await. So we call our controller. So I put this function, not all of that. I think it is get single course. Okay, get single course, and they want us to pass the ID. So pass in the ID, and let's make this one async. Just like that. Export default async function. View course. So here we have the getting the ID first, then we get the course. After getting the course, now we can pass in the course title here. So you can just say course dot title, and then we can also have here course dot description. So you say course dot description, just like that. So we have these two, the course title and the description, and that is it. So the only thing, we go to the link to the detailed page. So just go to the course list component, and we make sure on the view, okay, on the view which is here, let's capture this ID and we send it here. Okay, so here we create a dynamic path here. Okay, let me just cut this, turn this into this, and use backticks, and then inside let's paste this path. Should go to courses, and then for this ID, let's put this ID dynamically by saying course dot id. Okay, so now if I go back to the home page, let me refresh. Okay, let me refresh. Now if you hover here, you see want to see this link changing. Okay, want to see this link changing, putting the id. Okay, let's just reload again. Okay, so it is saying undefined. Let's check what you have put here. We have access to the course dot description, course dot id. Okay, oh, so remember, let's just go and see the object we have from Postman. If you look at the id, actually the data doesn't have the id, it has underscore id. It has this underscore id, so don't do that mistake. It is underscore id. So this one is dot, because MongoDB does not save it as id, it saves it as underscore id. So just put underscore id. Even for this one, underscore id, just like that. Let's just refresh again. Okay, let's just refresh again. So if you now hover, we should have the id. Yeah, so we have our id. So if I click on this one, we go to its detailed page. So I've clicked this one. Now look at this, HTML and CSS, HTML, CSS, JS advanced. We have its detail. Let me go back, click on this one. We go to its detailed page, JS, Next.js, and it has all this one. This is really, really nice. Congratulations for reaching this. This is really nice. Already we have the view part done. Okay, so just work on some things like adding a course, and then we have viewing a course and deleting a course. Okay, so let's add a course here. So when you go to add course, this one, it is a form. Okay, so first of all, we are going to have the controller. So let's just go to this. Okay, let me go to the form. It is under components. We have edit form. Let's go to that part app, and you have here add course. So if you just check this page here, it is a new folder under add course. Okay, so create a new folder under add course. If you see this URL here, it is under add course, so it is a new URL or a new path. So here I have this under app, I have add course. Inside I have the page, and then inside here we have a simple form. Okay, so first of all, now the thing is, to do this part, it has to be, okay, it has to be the on server side, on the client side. We are going to see why. So to first of all, on this, we can first create a function here which says const handle submit. Okay, just like that. Const, and we can just say function. I don't need to meet const function handle submit. Okay, and this is going to be an async function, by the way. So here handle submit, it takes in an event. Okay, and then we can say event or e.prevent default. Okay, so this is the first thing on this function. This handle submit is a function that is going to run when we submit the form. On what? On submit. So on submit, it is going to run handle submit, just like this. Okay, so it is going to run this function handle submit. Now what we have to do is we have to do two states: the state for storing the title and the one for storing the description. Okay, so let me just change this one to title. So to do that, we can create those two states here on top. we can use state const, okay, title, and set title, and we can say is equal to use state from React. Okay, so by default is going to be empty, and make sure that this one has imported from React. And then the second one is for storing the description. So let's just go ahead and also store the description under the state. So here just going to say const and description set description, okay, set description just like that is equal to use state. So use state, and let's set it also to be empty. Okay, so by default you have these two and they are empty just like that. Okay, so now what we want to do is we set these values on change. Okay, when someone types something here, we can know it using one function or one event called on change. Okay, so you can just go on these ones and we put on change, and on change we can just simply set, for instance this one is for the title, so you can just say set title, okay, set title to let's make sure this is here. Okay, so we have access to this event, the onChange event, and then the onChange event has e.target. So there is a target here, which is the whole input, and then on the input we can have the value. Okay, so we set the title to event.target.value here, and then we also update the value here. So you can just say value now is equal to title, because we have already finished now updating it. We can set it here to be the title. So copy these two lines and then paste them here on this second input. Okay, just like this. onChange, so onChange is the event when someone types in the input. Now we capture that event, and from that event we set the description. For instance here, set description, and you set it to the event.target, which is the input itself. Then on the input we get the value, and then for the value of this input we also update it to description. Okay, so after doing this, now we can access this data here. Okay, we can just say, for instance, const, okay, let me say const new course is equal to, let me create an object and I put in title and the description just like that. And for now, let's console.log new, so console.log new course, okay, new course. And remember, since we have use state, this one has to be set to use client. So just put here use client, and then just go to this form here, refresh it. Okay, refresh, and I'm just going to go F12 to go to the inspect. I want to inspect this app, the console most especially, and let me type in something here. Let's just say Python. Okay, Python course. Okay, and then this one is this is a sample description. So let's just click submit here and we see if we can get this object. Okay, so we have the object of the data here. You see we have Python course and we have the description. So the only thing we have to make now is actually sending this data. Okay, so we have to send this data here By the way, this is just now like our controller, this one, handle submit. Now I made it to remain here to be easy to avoid sending data up and down, and you might get confused by just simply just need to create only this function. Now this function, now what we want after getting the new course, what we want it to do is to create a fetch, okay, to initiate a fetch. So we're just going to say const, okay, response is equal to await, and we await fetch. Now on the fetch, want to go to, let's just copy the endpoint, because the way they have been disturbing, I'm just going to copy the endpoint for the post. So go to the post here, and let's copy this endpoint. Okay, the way it is like that. Okay, so first of all, put this. It has not copied the endpoint. Let me just go back here, right click and copy, and let's go back here just like that. Put HTTP localhost API courses. Now here we send with some other things, so just put an object of options. Okay, so the first one is headers. Okay, just put headers, and in the headers, what we want to send on the headers is the more especially the content type. Okay, content type. Okay, just type this like this, content type, and it is called application. Okay, application JSON, just like this. And this is what you only need to put, I think, in the headers. Okay, so if you want to see where these headers, if you remember in the Postman, we are just going here under this, and we're selecting here the stuff. Okay, we're selecting, let's say, so you see here the headers. The first one is like, for instance, content type, and the content type is set to application JSON. You get? So the other ones you can just leave them out. The most important one is the content type. Okay, is the content type is the most important one. Now let's just go back. You can also just say go here on the HTTP request methods. Here they is where they are going to talk about the headers. Okay, you can search about that. I don't know if here HTTP headers, if I can create click here, and you can see on the HTTP headers there is this, all the headers you can just go and put. Okay, there are these things you can put, but I'm not just putting, I'm putting only the content type. After the headers, you can also specify the method actually on top here. Let's start with the method. So in this object we have the headers, so we have also the method. The method we are sending the data, and this one is post, just like that. So first is in these options here, it is an object. The first thing we send is the method post. We want to post the data. The second one is the headers, so put these headers which is having the type of data you are sending, and we are saying it is JSON. Third is the body. So the body, we have to send the data itself, so I'm just going to say JSON, okay, dot stringify, okay, and I'm stringifying the new course. Okay, new course. Okay, so this new course here is this we have here, const new course is the title and the description we are sending. Okay, and now you see I have them here, body dot, so the body is one which takes the data, this body here. Even if you remember, even in the Postman, By the way, we are doing the same thing that we have been doing in the Postman now in our code. So you see, we define the headers, we define the body, okay, and even the method post, we also define it. That's why we are doing this. So we define the title and the description, and we turn it into JSON by doing this here. Body is JSON.stringify, and we are stringifying the course so that it goes as a JSON object. Okay. So now, after getting this back, after making this is all you need to do. Those lines here. After that, we can get the response back. Okay. So you can just say if the response is okay. Okay. All the time we make a response, if you remember back on the Postman here, there is where we could just do, and there is 201 like created. There are those ones you could say okay and all that kind of stuff. So the response we need to get back here after this. Okay, you could just say if the response is okay, but what we want to do is the message. If we had a toast package, we could actually use the toast, but what we need is to use to redirect a person. When someone creates a course here on this page, we want to redirect them to the home page to see the created course. Okay, so what I'm just going to do is I'm going to use the React, the router. So just come here and you say const on top here, const router. Now this router is helping us to navigate to different pages, is equal to use router. And now I've been getting it from this, but they have changed it is on next navigation. Okay, so use router is no longer on in the Next.js 13, is no longer on this next router, is on next navigation. Okay, so change that. Let's put use router from next navigation. And what we want to do is, okay, what we want to do is, you could just say if something like this, by the way, if response, okay, response dot status, okay, is equal to 200, or is it 201? Okay, if the response is equal to this, we could just go ahead and we navigate. So we could just say router dot push, okay, and then we push the where we want to go on the home page. So I can do something like this one. After, if it is successful, the response is successful, I can go ahead and I push go to the home page. Okay, let's just try this one. I'm not sure if it is going to work out, so fingers crossed, but let's just try to see what happens. I'm going to refresh this page. Okay, and let's just say Python course. Okay, Python course. Okay, and let's go and say this is a backend course, at this is sub. Okay, just like that. Click add here, add the course. Now we should see the console, or take some time. You can see how we are getting the data, and yep, we are redirected here, and we have Python course. Wow, that is really nice. Okay, we have Python course, which means even if I refresh, this course is not going away. It means it is in the database. Let's check in MongoDB before I get excited. So right now we have two before refreshing. Let me go up here, refresh. Let's refresh. Okay, after refreshing, we have three objects. Okay, Look at that. Wow, Python course. This is a course at this hub. Let's create another one that we are going to use for deleting. So let's just come here on top here and say add course. It takes us to this page. Let's say testing course. Okay, and then you say this is a testing course, okay, that we will delete later. Okay, so let's add the course. You see here, and then it redirects onto the home page. Okay, and we have it here, testing course. If you go to the here, refresh. Okay, if you refresh in the MongoDB, okay, you see we have 4 documents, and it is here, testing course. Okay, this is cool. Okay, I like this. Now you have the functionalities working. Now what we can do is we can work on our delete. Okay, want to delete this stuff here, and you can just go ahead and put in like on this adding here, you can go and add the toast package if you want it, like where we are creating, deleting. You can just go and add toast. We'll leave that one as an assignment. If you want to see, you watch the context API video, you will see how I added the toast package. Now you can just as an assignment, like here, before you add this one, you can just say toast dot success, and you add the message even for creating. So just add the toast package so that we see how you can do that. So let's just go and now work on the delete functionality before we do the edit. Okay, so let's go to the delete. So it is on this, there is a button here for deleting. Let's go to that. So under course list in the components, okay, under the course list, under the components, you see we have this delete button. Okay, so if you remember in the delete, let me show you. This is the delete functionality in the Postman. Under delete, we need this ID to be appended like this. Okay, so this is the API route for this delete. We are going to use it in a second. Okay, first of all, let's first pass the ID to this button, so that this button has the ID, access to the ID. So we can do that by putting the ID here, and we say ID is equal to course dot underscore ID. This is how we are accessing the ID on the MongoDB document, is underscore DB. So we send this ID to the button. So just go to this button. Okay, and where you put the button, this side is to not make this one a client component. If you put the whole button here, it would force you to make this a client side component, which will give you hard time to fetch this single item. So the trick is, if you have any small component is going to use client side, create its own component and remove it from this whole big component. And this is what I did. The delete button, I created its own component here, and we can receive the ID. Okay, we can receive the ID. So on click of this function, okay, on click on this, you can just say on click, we want to give it a function that it should run, or we should give it what we call we can call this one a controller. So we can just go ahead and here delete. We can create an item which says delete an item. Okay, let me just do. We could do that. Just do it from here so that you can just see. So I'm just going to say async function. this is going to be an async function. Okay, handle, we could just call it handle delete course. Okay, delete course, just like that. And async function, the word function, async function handle delete course. Okay, so what it has to do inside here is just making a request. Okay, so you're just going to see const response, okay, is equal to await fetch. So we're just going to make a fetch here, and let me just copy this endpoint from the Postman, this one. Okay, just get this one, and fetch is this, and let's put it in the backticks. We are fetching this, and then we are going to pass this ID dynamically. Okay, so pass this ID dynamically from here. We have it access here, so I'm just going to pass it dynamically by saying $ID, just like that. So we are passing this ID dynamically here. So we have handle this, and by the way, this, let's put it down here, just like that. On a click, it's going to run this function. So what it is going to do is going to fetch, to create this fetch to this endpoint, which is for the deleting the item. Okay, we can just get the response back, and we don't even save this. Okay, we could just put it just like this, await. Okay, or let's just put it in the response here. Let's put in the response, and you can just say if response, okay, dot status, or you could just say dot okay. So you see here we have this, you have this status or okay, you can use any, is equal to 200. Okay, is equal to 200. You could now go ahead, I don't know, do you need to put like it in quotes? And if it is status is equal to 200, that means it was successful. We can use the router. So let's just also create the router here, and this one has to be a use client, and then let's get the router. So on top here, const router is equal to use router from next navigation, get from next navigation. Okay, and then we can use this router to push. So first of all, we can refresh. There is router dot refresh. Okay, you can refresh just like that, and since it is on the home page, this is the only thing we want it just to refresh only. Okay, so now this should be working by now. Okay, let's try it and see. So I'm just going to go on the home page, refresh. Okay, let's just go on the home page and refresh, and then try to delete. Okay, and we should just like add, so before someone deletes, I think we should ask them if they want to delete. It is not good just click and delete at once. We could just say, before we delete here, we could just say before we go to this, okay, in this one we could just say const confirmed. Okay, confirmed is equal to confirm. So we can call this JavaScript confirm. You say, are you sure just like that as a question. Okay, and then we can just say if confirmed. Okay, if confirmed, that is if they have accepted they want to delete, then we do this. Okay, yeah, this is good. Where is the problem? Is here. This one should be inside. Sorry, should be inside there, and you can just put this. Okay, so if we first ask the confirmation from a user, and we use this simple confirm, the browser confirm. Now here you could use sweet alert. So here we could use sweet alert too. I think I will make one of the videos putting this sweet alert to library for JavaScript, for React, whereby it can give us nice alerts on our application. But for now, just use this simple one. Okay, so if we right now go there in the browser, and let me refresh to see if we don't have any problem. Okay, refreshing the page, just give it a second. It is saying one error, and the error I think is gone. That's it. Okay, so now if I click this button, it should show me a pop-up. Okay, so you see there is a pop-up here saying are you sure? So if I say cancel, it doesn't do anything, but I say click again and it will fire are you sure, and I say okay, and let's wait. Seems nothing has happened. Okay, let us try to refresh, see if anything has gone or anything. We still have it here, not going anywhere. Okay, so let's console the ID. So we have this response. I think it is this status that having the problem. We're saying if response.status, and we could also just have a try catch block, I guess. We have this handle delete function being run, and then we have this if confirmed, then it should do this. Okay, now let's just remove this, I guess, response. Let me remove it. I just say await, so it does this. Okay, and then after that let's just say router dot refresh. Okay, just like that. So let's just save and see again, and I want also to see if the ID is reaching this side. Let me just go here. It is rebuilding. Let me refresh, and let me just click again. This one, it brings are you sure? Okay, so the endpoint seems not to be actually deleting. Link uploaded, but is in a few seconds from the window load event. Please make sure it has an appropriate as value as display intentionally. Okay, there is no any errors, and let's check in the compiling API courses, ID route, connection successful. Let's just see if we have any potential errors. CSS, blah blah, get localhost. Oh, okay, so it is my bad. Here we are supposed to pass options. Here this one can't do anything. You're supposed to pass on the fetch. Let's pass some options. Okay, so we pass the options. The first one is the method. My bad. sorry for that, it is delete. And then we pass also the headers. I don't think we have even to pass the header, do we? We just put it just here, content, this one, let me put it as an object, and one of its object is content type, and the content type is application JSON. And then we have to put, there is no body. I think the only thing we have to pass is this method delete, and then the headers, I don't think we need the headers, and even the body, we don't have them. So just actually pass only the, let's pass only the method delete, and let's try again now. Refresh. Okay, let's just try again the refresh. So click on delete. Are you sure? Yes. Okay, gone. Okay, this is good. So it has deleted it. And let's go to MongoDB. So here, before refreshing, we have it here testing the course. Let's go up here, refresh. Okay, let's go here, refresh, and we have 3. So it has been deleted successfully. Now we have the delete working. Okay, let us add another one so that we can delete this. Let me just add testing 2. Okay, testing 2 and testing, just add the course. So it adds the course, and we have the course here. Let's delete the course. We can even view the details. Let's delete it. Are you sure? Yes. And then it is deleted. Okay, so the deleting is confirmed. So we have remaining only the update. Okay, so if I click on edit, okay, you see the edit actually comes to this page with a unique ID in the URL here. So I have this folder created also in here. In the app, we have edit course. Inside the edit course, we have this showing that it is a dynamic page, and we get it here. And then in the dynamic page, we have the edit form as a component, and there is a reason why I put as a component, and that is because the edit form will be a client-side component, but I want this component itself to be a server-side component. And why do I need the server-side component? It's just because I just want to get the params, and from the params I need to get the ID. Okay, why do I need this ID? If on the detailed page here, we should see, because we are editing this course here of this ID, we must have its old values populated here. Okay, we are supposed to have the old values populated here. So we first mean that we have to first fetch the course, populate the details into this form, then we can now be able to update the new details. Okay, so now we can get the single course, and we would have that one in controllers, get a single course. I will call this const course is equal to await. Okay, await get single. Okay, get single course, and this takes in the ID. So just pass in the ID. This one you have to make this one async. Okay, so when you pass in this ID, we come here and we get a particular course, and after getting the course, let's pass this course to the we can destructure the title and the description here, or you could just simply say data is equal to course. Okay, data is equal to what? Is equal to course, and we can have this data sent to the edit form here via here. Okay, we can just say course, actually just name it as course. So the prop we have named it is course is equal to course. If we go to the edit form, Okay, now on the edit form, we can first receive the course. Now this is the one which is containing the old data that you are supposed to populate in the form. So just get this data, the course details that were for this particular course we are trying to edit. Remember, we are editing a particular course, so we have to first get its details, populate them here, so this person that we know what was there, now he can edit these details. So to populate them, we first got here in this, we first fetched the data. After fetching this data, we pass it to this form. Now on the form, I have the course. I can now set, okay, const, I can set the title, okay. I can just say, actually set it as new title. So new, remember we said this one is going to be new title to differentiate. New title, set new title. So set new title is equal to use state, okay, use state, just like that. And now instead of setting it as an empty string, right now some data is there, so we can just set it to course dot title. Okay, we can set it to course dot title here, and then in a similar way for the description, let me duplicate this and let me say new description is equal to set here, set new description is equal to course dot description. So you see now we are setting these data that we have from the database, we are setting it to be the default values in the form. Okay, so now when we go back to the form, of course we'll have the same, let me just go and copy this from the add course. Let me just copy this function, it's the same function, just copy this async function, bring it to edit form. Okay, so I'm just going to add this function on top here. Okay, we're just going to have this function on top here, and this const, we first set these two in the use state, and we are setting the default values to be the values that we got from the database. As simple as that. Then next, we write this function. Let me first come here on submit. So when we click on the submit button, we want to run this handle submit function here. That is cool. Now to be able to see these values, to capture them, we use the onChange. So go to this, this is title. So just go here and say onChange. Okay, onChange, we first capture the event, and then we return back set new title, okay, to e. So we are setting it to e dot target. Okay, we are setting this e dot target, then dot value. Okay, so e dot target dot value, just like this. This one will be able to capture our value. Now we again say the value here is equal to new title. Okay, here is new title, just like that, and copy these two. Let's copy them and let's take them to the second input. So here is onChange. Okay, here we say onChange e dot set. So here we are setting set new description to e dot target dot value, and the value is new description. As simple as that. So if you do that, we go back to use client, guys. On top here, if you are having the use states, just simply use client, the spelling of client, use client just like that. This error should go. It is about the use client. Okay, so I want to refresh. Okay, it should populate the values. As you can see, it is populating the values of the old values that were in this course. So this was existing course. Let me first go back here, and so that we create, or we click on another one like this Python course. Let me click on edit. Okay, so you see now Python course, this is a backend course. Let me update it. So now what we want to do is then on this update, okay, on this function here, first of all, let's prevent the default. Let's create a new course, which is going to be new title. Okay, and then this one is new description. So send this data, send the new title and the new description. We create a new course just from that, and then we send the response. Now let me just go and copy from the Postman the response that we used. Okay, go where we have update here, and let me save it. So in the update here, it should be put, copy this line on top here, just copy this, Ctrl C. Okay, Ctrl C. Let's go back. So instead of putting this, let's put this one. Okay, HTTP localhost 3000 API courses are on a specific ID. So we can also get this ID from the course, this one. Remember, this course has the ID. We have only extracted the title and the description, but actually it has the ID. So we can send the ID here. I'm just going to change this one into backticks. So just use backticks. And then I can now remove these double quotes. And then I can change this one into $course. It is small letters, course dot underscore ID. So this, we are sending the ID there on this API route, and the method is put. Okay, just change the method to put. Headers is content that, body.stringify is new course. So this should be working. Everything should be working at this point. We leave everything exactly the same. After this, getting the response, we check the response. If it is 201, we use router.push. Now for the router, we make sure we have the router. So let me just go and say const router. Okay, router is equal to use router, and we say this is from Next navigation, just like that. Okay, now after that we are good to go. So let's just try and see what we'll get. I'm not sure if it is going to work, but I'm just going to put updated here and also updated here, just like that. Click on this, and let me also open the console, see if this object is captured. Okay, so click on this. Okay, and okay, that was fast. You see, it did not update. Okay, it did not update, but here the new title and new description, they were okay. but then here it did not. Let's first see if you have any errors. Okay, let's see if you have any errors. Seems like it has no errors. Let's check. It must be a simple thing. Okay, so we have here the handle submit function. It takes in this one. We send the response is await fetch, and then we are going to this. We are sending the ID method. We have put and headers. We put them content application. Body is JSON.stringify new course. Okay, then we say if response the status is equal to 01, then we push, and we also consoling the new course. Let's just say if everything is okay. Okay, so we need to refresh. Let's first refresh and see. It might have just updated but didn't refresh. Yeah, so it updated but actually it didn't refresh. So we can refresh the page after posting or after updating. Okay, so let me just go here where we have router.push. Let's first also refresh. So you can just say router.refresh. Okay, let's edit another one now so that we confirm. Let's actually edit this Next.js course. Click on it. Okay, click on it, and we have Next.js course. This is advanced course, blah blah. Let me add updated, and even on description we can add updated. Okay, just click on update. So now you see Next.js course updated. So now that is cool. And with that, it marks our CRUD. Okay, so this is really a nice one. Okay, I know it is a long video, but take your time and watch it. Okay, take your time and watch it so that you can get all these concepts. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe so that we can continue creating all these concepts for you and learning with you. Thank you so much. See you in the next one.